Hello everyone, I'm Armen. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. If you are new here, welcome. I post card making tutorials and project inspiration videos. You can also find me on Instagram at ArmensCraftRoom, where I post card inspiration and the occasional bullet journal inspiration. I hope you enjoy today's crafting session.
Today we'll be using the Paper Roses 12 by 12 giant rainbow from the unboxing. We'll be cutting this rainbow in half so the paper measures 6 inches by 12 inches. And then we'll be sizing this so that it can fit on a large scale card that'll fit into an A9 envelope. The card base will be 8.5 inches high by 5.5 inches wide once folded, and it'll fit in a US A9 envelope, which is 6 inches by 9 inches. We'll want to cut a matte layer of gold foil cardstock to 8.25 inch high by 5.25 inch wide. If your cardstock is warped like mine, just flip it over so it bends towards the base of the trimmer, and that'll make it easier to trim. I'm going to maximize the half sheet of rainbow here, cutting it to be 8 inches high by 5 inches wide, so it'll fit beautifully on that matte layer with as much gold foil rainbow as possible. Here I'm holding up the matte layer to try to decide which sections of the rainbows are going to be optimal for this card. The cards that we're going to make today are going to be pretty straightforward, cut and layer, and they'll have a big bang because of that gold foiling. Adhering the gold foil matte base to the card base, keeping an even border around all sides, flattening it out. Then we'll determine which side we would like to be the top of the card for the rainbow piece. So you can see me here flipping and turning it around, trying to decide when the card opens, which direction would I like this rainbow oriented. That's going to determine the remainder of the card. So I did choose a direction, and I'm adhering it now to the gold foil. And there was some leftover gold foil cardstock strips from sizing down the matte layer. So we're going to go ahead and use that to decorate the interior of the card. You can see that I was rubbing off extra adhesive from the edges of that strip, and then we'll cut a banner to give a second piece. And then we'll trim the edges from the card. All right, that's card 1. Ready for a sentiment later. Card number 2. This will be a 6 by 9/16 inches by 3 3/8 inches mini slimline card. We'll be cutting the matte layer to 6.25 inches high by 3 inches wide out of gold foil again. Again, you can flip it upside down so that it curls towards the trimmer if that's easier. We'll want to cut our remaining rainbow piece to maximize the amount of gold foil showing to 6 inches high by 2 3/4 inches wide, so it fits well on that mat. And then we'll mat the remaining rainbow pieces and we'll adhere that to our card. I thought that having the ends of the rainbow point in the upward direction, kind of like fingers, looked the best. Card 3. This will be a slimline card with a card base measuring 9.25 by 3 7/8 inches. This will fit into a US number 10 size envelope. The matte layer will be 8 15/16 inches high by 3.5 inches wide. I realized I forgot to decorate the inside of card 2, and I have quite a few scraps off this matte layer, so we're going to use these scraps to decorate the inside of both card 2 and card 3. And you'll see me here just trimming strips off of the leftover paper so that we can decorate the interiors. I didn't have quite enough cardstock, so I'm going to cut another strip of the same width and cover that down the side, making a little bit of a side thing. I didn't like the extra banner on it. It seemed like a little bit of overkill there. So now we're just going to verify the size of the matte layer because I had forgotten while I was cutting. We're going to cut the other half rainbow to 8 inches high by 3.25 inches wide, making sure to maximize the number of gold foil pieces that are on that strip. We'll adhere that to the matte layer and then determine which side is going to be the top of the card. If it's going to open horizontally or vertically, and how that layout might look best. Now that I've made a decision, I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to the card base. And as you can see, I'm making all the card bases first, and we're going to go do the sentiments last because they're going to be hot foiled to match. So right now I've got 3 cards out of this one 12 by 12. It's a 1 US A9 envelope, 1 US Slimline, and 1 mini Slimline envelope, which is pretty great for one sheeted 12 by 12. We do have some remaining rainbow card scraps left, and I do feel like we can get a bonus 4th card out of this. It'll be slightly more creative than the others because of where the foil's at. I would prefer not to throw any of the foil paper out. We're going to cut to maximize the rainbow here, 6 inches high by 1.5 wide and 6 inches high by 1 inch wide. And then we're going to attach these. So basically I'm making a mini Slimline layer card, but I'm going to do it with 2 layers and have a strip of gold that seals them together so that it looks more intentional than puzzle piece together. So now I'm just kind of seeing how that fits, and I might like it. And we'll lay those out. And then I'm going to cut a 6 inches high by 3/4 inch wide piece of gold foil cardstock strip. That's going to go down the center there to cover that seam because although it's hard to see the seam on camera, it's quite obvious in person. The matte layer here is going to be 6 3/8 inch high by 3 inches wide. And I'll get that strip adhered, and then I'm going to adhere the entire card front onto that matte layer base. I do need to make an extra card base for this. We'll cut a 6 5/8 inches by 6 1/2 inch piece of cardstock, scoring it at 3 5/16 inches for a card base that measures 3 5/16 inches by 6.5 inch wide. This will fit in a US mini Slimline envelope. And we'll adhere that card topper to the card base. So now I have 4 card bases made out of this thing, and I didn't quite center it, so I'm just trimming off the right side there to make it more even with the white. And with 4 card bases total, there's only 1 tiny scrap of pattern cardstock left, which is quite good. It's about a 3 by 3 inch piece with a tiny little smidgen of gold foil, which I am going to cut out and use it as a corner piece for the interior decoration for card number 4. I'm also going to add a gold foil strip to the base, and I just threw some adhesive on the very base of that interior. This is actually the quickest way, is to just do that and then cut around the card base, and voila. Right, so here's our card 1, which will fit into an A9 envelope. Card 2, it's a mini Slimline card. Oh, excuse me, that's a regular Slimline fitting into a size 10 envelope. We've got card 3 here, and that one's a mini Slimline, and a 4th card also a mini Slimline. So 4 cards off 1 sheet of decorative foiled cardstock is really great. Obviously, I use several sheets of the foil. Pulling in the Spellbinders Yana Special Sentiments Glimmer Plate and Die Set here. And I'm laying the dies and the glimmer plates out, trying to decide which sentiments I might want to add to these cards. Rainbows are, they're pretty general, so you can use them for a lot of different types of sentiment cards. And I'm generally go through like a lot of birthday, anniversary, and thank you type cards. So we'll see what we can get here. I am laying out the really small, thin rectangular ones are like secondary sentiments that come with this kit. As you can see, I did glimmer hot foil these off screen, and I opted to go with friendship and birthday sentiments. I'm adding the foam adhesive here because, well, it's me and you have to have foam adhesive in my eyes. So we're going to pop up all the sentiments on these cards and choose the optimal place to lay these to cover up some of that extra white space that's not needed. Because the die cuts have very little white cardstock around the gold foil, which is actually my preferred type of die cut, we don't want to put it directly inside of the gold foiling because it'll make it a little more challenging to read. It'll stand out much more to put it in something with a lot of white space. While I adhere these, I do ask you guys to think about what a rainbow and a set of Christmas tree lights might have in common here that would help us out. All right, moving on to the Christmas lights. Spellbinders Twinkle Lights dies will be used to create candle flames with gold foil cardstock. We're going to add those onto one of the birthday cards, and it's going to look really nice, and people won't really think about it as having been Christmas tree lights. Always think about alternative ways to use the products you have in your craft room. This is a type of supply stretch right here by taking Christmas tree lights and turning them into birthday candles. This can also be used as birthday candle flames against any rectangular strip of cardstock you have. You don't have to have ends of rainbows. And as you can see, it just matches perfectly with the gold foil. So it ended up being a great way to make a mini Slimline birthday card a little bit extra special with all the foiling. And no one will ever know that's Christmas tree lights unless you tell them. And here we go, a close-up of all 4 cards. As you can see, I've laid out all 4 cards in the 12 by 12 configuration, so you can see what the rainbow used to look like and how it turned into the cards. The card on the lower left-hand side does contain part of the left side rainbow for the larger format paper. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave notifications on so you can be notified when the next video comes out. Thank you so much for joining me today in this crafting endeavor. I hope to see you again in my craft room soon.